Have you seen one of those scenes where the law enforcement is trying to track down a hacker, but they end up seeing the request going from one country to another? These scenes are all based on the proxy chains that hackers and whistleblowers use. Whistleblowers use proxy chains to bounce their request from multiple countries to make sure the source of their request remains anonymous, even to a nation state. And they can fully use their freedom of speech rights without having to worry about consequences. As always, please don't use any of the techniques discussed here illegally. Hello Internet, I am Arya Bagheri, and in this video, I'll be showing you how to stay safe and untraceable in the Internet. First, we will go over different things that you can chain in your proxy chains, the recommendations, and at last, you'll learn how to use the proxy chains tool in Linux to stay invisible. Those who want to anonymize their connection usually use a couple of VPNs, proxies, and Tor in a chain. Now, doing so is as easy as adding a couple of proxies to your proxy chain config. But in this video, you will learn how some configurations provide no security and how to configure your proxy chains to get the maximum level of anonymity. There are many ways that law enforcement agencies across the world use to track down people in the internet. Cookies, for example, are fantastic ways to digitally fingerprint someone and get past any proxies they might use. That's why this method would not be 1000% safe by itself, and a safe browser like the Tor browser is crucial. As I mentioned before, this tutorial is made for whistleblowers and people with good intentions that want to advance the freedom of speech. Well, imagine I'm connecting to this random news website to upload a footage of something really bad that happened. Something that powerful people don't want online. First, my ISP is always listening and monitoring connections. So, if there is a direct line between my computer and the website, they can see it. Now, if you trust HTTPS, which most people do, you'd know that they can't see what I am uploading. Only the website servers know what I am uploading. But if they cross-reference packet size and the uploaded video size, they can easily find out who uploaded what. So they don't even need to break the HTTPS. Also, if the news organization I'm uploading a video to is red flagged, the ISP would immediately report me since I should not be uploading anything there in the first place. HTTPS uses IPv4 underneath, and IPv4 has see-through headers, so they know exactly what website I'm trying to access. So the most simple way to get around this is by using a VPN or a proxy server. Now, VPNs and proxies work almost exactly the same way, so they are interchangeable for the most part. They have their own downsides that I'll get into later in this video. Now, if you're just trying to get around filtering and firewalls, this is where you should stop. Anything more that we will discuss is for high-stakes situations and would just slow your connection down. So if I have a perfect VPN setup and my connection is encrypted, no one knows what's happening, and my ISP would see me connecting to a VPN, which is not illegal, and then the VPN would basically be the middleman. So everything is fine. Now imagine I upload the video and afterwards the people I exposed would deploy all their resources to find me. Well, first they'd go to the news channel and ask or hack their way through the logs to see if I've left any traces. Assuming I haven't, they would find the logs and say, okay, this video was uploaded by this IP address. They track it down and oops, it's a VPN service. Next step, they would check the logs there, and if the VPN keeps the logs, I'm a dead person, since they can track it back to me. That's why you make sure your VPN does not keep logs. Also, lots of hackers often hack VPN servers and put a backdoor there. So, the VPN service provider doesn't even know the backdoor exists. Just to clarify one thing, these things happen daily. That's why Tor exists in the first place. Now, I could put a second VPN or proxy and my connection would get slower, but now it's double the effort to track me down. But it is still possible. That's where Tor comes in handy. Now, explaining the onion architecture is out of the scope of this video, but for now, just imagine Tor as a black box that you can't track. Tor has its own flaws though, and we have seen in the past that some bugs in Tor let hackers track people down. So, what can you put inside the chain? Now, let's cover what you can put inside your chain. Well, you can put proxies there. There are multiple types of proxies. SOCKS, HTTP, HTTPS. These are the most famous types of proxies. SOCKS proxies are usually preferred, especially SOCKS 5, which offers superior anonymity. While all types of proxies mask your connection and make the target think you're coming from somewhere else, HTTP and HTTPS proxies only cover the HTTP protocol. So if you're using an HTTP proxy, then your FTP connection either won't go through or isn't as secure. HTTP or HTTPS. HTTP or HTTPS proxies are amazing if you know exactly what type of connection you're going to be having. For example, if you're just trying to browse an HTTPS website, then HTTPS proxies are a lot faster than SOCKS proxies, and they will be just as secure. But if you don't know, then it is a safer bet to use SOCKS. Other than proxies, you can also put Tor inside your chain. Tor is the gold standard for staying anonymous. Usually Tor would offer perfect protection and there is no need for anything else. But as countries started using advanced techniques like exit node poisoning or entry-exit node connection mapping, in some cases your connection might lose its security. Furthermore, your internet service provider will know that you have accessed Tor. Thus, they might start watching you more carefully. VPNs. While free proxies are always a blast, VPN service providers like the ExpressVPN provide good levels of anonymity. When selecting a VPN, make sure they don't keep logs of their connections, and also they provide a kill switch. You don't want to blow your cover if accidentally your VPN dies for 2 seconds. The kill switch is just gonna stop your connection, and once the VPN is back online, you can connect to the internet just fine. How to configure our proxy chains? VPN over Tor. If you put Tor first, then a VPN later, you just made a horrible mistake. This only slows your connection and doesn't provide any additional security benefits. The VPN service will be able to see your traffic, and if you have paid for that service, let's say with your credit card, or used your regular internet connection to get the VPN, then it is not too difficult to connect the dots. Tor over VPN. Tor over VPN is fantastic. First, your VPN knows you're going to use Tor, but doesn't know what you will do with Tor. Then Tor entry node knows a VPN is connected to it, and doesn't know where the target, let's say website is, and thanks to the VPN, doesn't know who you are. Then the relay nodes don't know who you are or where you're going. And at last, the Tor exit nodes know you're connecting to this website, but don't know who you are. In fact, this system, even without the VPN in front, is already good enough. Putting a VPN in front just makes sure, even with massive surveillance capabilities of some nations, they can never correlate the entry and the exit of the Tor network to get your IP address. and map it to the website you visited. Furthermore, they won't be putting you under more surveillance because you're using Tor. Proxy chains, different methods. Strict chains. Well, strict chain is simple. If any of the proxies in the list fail, don't let the connection go through. This makes sure your connections either don't connect or are all as secure as your first one. This is awesome if you're making only a few requests and are in a high-risk situation. Dynamic chain, or sometimes called the smart chain, is when your proxy chains goes over the list, and if one of them is not working, it will just skip to the next one. And it only needs one proxy to work to connect. This is the best for a stress-free, low-risk situation where you're not being hunted down by God knows who. One proxy is certainly not enough to protect you, so I don't recommend using this. Round-robin chain. Round-robin chain makes a lot more sense than the dynamic chain. First, you select the chain length, let's say 5. Then you can provide hundreds of proxies. Only the first 5 of them gets used. This makes sure you have stress-free hacking without actually compromising your security. If any of the proxies fail, the round robin will just go to the next one. If it doesn't find 5 and reaches the end of the list, it goes to the top and searches again. This method is very smart and should work well in most scenarios. The only reason why I'm slightly opposed to this is because it might not select the Tor proxy, which completely destroys the level of anonymity you're aiming for. Random chain. Random chains are very similar to round-robin chains. Just instead of starting from the top and going in a circle until it finds a proxy, it just selects them randomly. This is perfect if you are going to be under massive surveillance. Because of the randomness, they can't easily correlate the connections and find a pattern. One time, you connect from Germany, the other time you connect from Singapore. You can see how that makes it a nightmare for the defensive team to separate the normal connections from yours. If you find a way to make sure Tor is included, for example, using a separate Tor chain on your system, then the proxy chains, you will have almost perfect security with this method. Proxy chains config. Now that we know how proxy chains work, it's time to start using them. To do that, we need to access the config file. Now, on most systems, this config file is located at this address. So try to access this address. If it doesn't work, just look proxy chains, your operating system, and you will find it. We don't use proxy chains with Windows because that would be like a waste. Windows is already not safe for anything. If you're cautious enough to use proxy chains, you should not be using Windows. Use Linux or Mac. So, find the proxy chains configuration file. On the top, you can see that it says strict chains is enabled because it's not commented. The ones with the hashtag in front are commented, so they're not applied. The strict chains here is applied. You could actually delete all this file and write everything yourself. Like for example, if I delete all the ones that start with a hashtag, the proxy chains would work fine. But if you're working in a stressful environment and you need to enable and disable them fast enough, it is a lot faster to remove a hashtag from, for example, dynamic chains and add one to the strict chains to just switch modes from strict to dynamic. For the time being, strict chain is selected. Now, if you chose round robin or random chain, you could see there is a chain length of 2. This chain length is exactly what we talked about. It tells the proxy chains to chain at least 2 proxies and then it will start working. Now we have a quiet mode which shows no output from when you run your proxy chains. This is not good for now just because we want to make sure our chain is connecting perfectly. But if you're gonna use proxy chains in your apps, set it to the quiet mode and it will work perfectly. Now we have the proxy DNS enabled. This means that even when you're connecting to the DNS server, proxy chains is used. This would slow down your connection a tiny bit, but it is crucial for the security of this whole thing. We have the timeouts in milliseconds, so you could mess with these, but the default settings work just fine. Timeout is basically when you connect to a website. If the website takes too long to respond, it means that the proxy is failed, so it would time out. Now here we have the proxy list. As you can see, it says add proxy here. So we use this format: protocol, IP address, port, and then if there are username and passwords, you just put them there. For example, in this case, secret is the password and the other one is the username. So you can see here I have SOX4 and then the proxy IP address. Now Tor usually runs on localhost and it's 127.0.0.1 and the port number could change. So this is all you need to do. You just save this file and your proxy chains will work. So in your terminal, you just put proxy chains and then the name of the program you're trying to run, for example, Firefox or whatever. So this is all for today. I hope you enjoyed the video and won't start using these techniques for the wrong reasons. Start protecting your connections with proxies, Tor, and VPNs. They are awesome. As always, you can access my posts and pieces from my personal website or my YouTube channel. So definitely take advantage of those resources. Stay paranoid, stay alive.